All right, welcome back, everyone. My Saturday weekly recap with the one and only Coach Nick, lead Pray Huddle. So, what's up, man?
Hey, everybody. Welcome. Good morning, wherever you're at. Happy to have you. If we're watching in Futureland, I'm excited to have you on our channels. Make sure you like, subscribe, the whole nine. And we're excited to recap Bitcoin, tell you what's going on, and keep you in the loop for your investing knowledge.
Yeah, hopefully, Bitcoin had a better week than the Bears season ended. But let's kick it off, right? So this week, Bitcoin moved fast. Narratives flew everywhere. Nation, ooh, hold on. My. It's always hard. My all my other devices turn on, but this, is packed with nation states made headlines and policy drama showed up again, right? So today we're gonna cut through the noise and focus on what actually mattered and what's next to watch, right? So Buffett and Bitcoin, right? So Warren Buffett famously says, rule number one, never lose money. How does that rule apply to Bitcoin? And I think this is my last week notes, but yes.
Yeah, it is. Well, one of the questions we were going to ask is Bitcoin dead or just loading for this week? And you probably have them on your messages. So
Yeah.
Bitcoin's loading. The chart looks flat to most of the tourists that have been watching all week. On-chain data actually shows massive accumulation. So whales are buying. That's a great thing. One of the whales is MicroStrategy, or what they go by now is called Strategy. And they just bought another 2 billion in Bitcoin this week, which is pretty exciting stuff. I believe you don't buy 2 billion of Bitcoin if it's a dead asset. That's a lot of money to throw around, right? And if you know anything about Michael Saylor, he has the president's ear, he has his son's ear that are all invested in Bitcoin, which is why they're trying to get these crypto bills passed. And it's going to take time because you're fighting against the banks and what they're doing, right? They're trying to, as a TradFi and DeFi, and they're going after it. We'll see what happens. But compression is what's happening right now. We're seeing chopping between like 89 to 94, 95,000. And this spring is coiled up, which is an exciting thing if you're into even stocks or Bitcoin or anything like that. Being coiled up to spring is great. Now, could it go down? Yeah, it could spring down or up, but we're hoping for up because when it breaks that coil, it breaks violently upward usually. And you're even seeing kind of that coil of gold and silver. They were coiled for a while and now they're springing up. The shorts are getting squeezed and they're moving to the moon, which is exciting for that, right? We know that gold is primarily used just for jewelry, right? 53% of gold is for jewelry. And then silver has a lot of utility and it's used in different things, obviously as a precious metal, which is awesome. The thing about those two things are they find more every year, tons of it. So as we continue to mine our Bitcoin, and it gets all mined up over the next halving and so on. There's always a little bit still being mined for a while, but as we get that supply shock coming, it's going to be huge news for Bitcoin. This is a great time to accumulate, in my opinion. Yeah.
Yeah, so when Bitcoin feels quiet, people start looking for something else to blame or credit, right? So
Yeah.
are ETFs helping Bitcoin or taming it?
Well, ETFs are taming it, in my opinion, but not taming it in the way you're thinking. They're taming the volatility. So we saw 1.4 billion in ETFs inflows this week, which is exciting. There's been plenty more than that. It didn't moon, so people think nothing happened, right? They're only going by the FOMO times when Bitcoin is straight pumping and everybody's FOMOing in. But the OTC desks are absorbing the shock, which is great. But more than anything, if you're a Bitcoin person, you understand that they're raising the floor. We aren't seeing 20% pumps right now, that's for sure. But we also stopped seeing those 30% crashes and drops. And that's an awesome thing. It's turning into more of a mature asset. And you want that, right? You want less volatility. More people will feel more comfortable. More companies, more countries will feel more comfortable as it continues to mature. And there's a huge upside. So Bitcoin is acting less like a lottery ticket that people like try to bet and gamble and hope they win millions of dollars, and more like global collateral. And that's exciting to me because you want adoption, you want global adoption, especially. And if you know anything about the countries and what's going on, there's a lot of poor leadership out there, right? So you want to be in an asset that can't be controlled by a stupid government that's printing fiat.
I also want to remind everyone, Nick should be streaming on his YouTube channel also. So there's his channel. So please go subscribe there, hit the like button. Before we move on to the next question, All Nighter Header is saying though, 2 billion, isn't that what the Fed has said they were going to buy in mortgage-backed securities, or was that 200 billion? I think it
Oh yeah,
was,
what?
yeah. No, go ahead. I think it
No,
was
you're
200,
the
right?
real guy. I'll go with you. You're the expert.
No, off the top of my head, I want to say it was 200 billion. off
Yeah,
the top of my head. Yeah.
Morgan. Yeah, but we see what's going on now, right? They had the inflationary or the bond market's having a problem with everything that's going on, right? They're not trusting the US dollar. So the mortgage-backed securities helped a lot. Interest rates started to drop, but now they're ticking back up again, right? There's so much uncertainty and markets hate that. And that uncertainty is really making people nervous. And when people are nervous, they go into those long form, always reliable, I guess, gold and silver things, right? Now, I think they're crazy because gold, silver, you're not just picking that up and walking that across the country or mailing that. I just think the portability of gold is ridiculous. And the fact that they're always just finding more. You want more gold? Go dig. You saw that. I think China recently just had like a 80 billion or $80 billion worth of gold they just found. I think it was. I can't remember the number exactly off the top of my head, but it's like they always just find more gold conveniently. And right now, the truth is, China's selling all their Bitcoin. They had 200,000 coins roughly, and they're selling and they're buying gold and silver. And the rest of the world is doing the same thing. They're selling America right now. Some of them. Trump is bipolar, not just in America. In America, we either like him or don't like him. That's a fact. Everybody knows that. Well, other countries like him or don't like him as well. Even their populace, they like him or don't like him. But in this case, they have leaders like China, which I like in some ways, where not China specifically, but I like the fact that their leaders control power for 100 years. They don't live for 100 years, but they have a long-term plans. And right now, their long-term plan is to get off the dollar. They see what's happening, and they're trying to be their own superpower. And I don't blame them. That's what I would be doing if I was a country. It's so shocking that everyone just let America just kind of control the dollar. But things are changing and people aren't liking that. And they also, if you like Trump and you love Trump, what he's doing, he's also doing some things for long-term gains. Hopefully they work out. The Venezuela thing, right? We're trying to get that oil. It's worth a lot of money, specifically the petrodollar, which is being priced in US dollars. And then you got Greenland, which is full of minerals that we want. They're precious metals, precious rocks, precious metals, precious everything. And with that being said, they're worth a lot of money, and that's the future. AI is the future, technology is the future, electricity is the future, and I think Bitcoin's the future as well. Man, I tied that in pretty well.
Well, before we'll answer Hyder's question at the end, but we did bring up ETFs, right? And while people are debating ETFs, they're often missing the bigger risk, right? So is fiat the real risk that everyone's ignoring?
Yeah, fiat was created for such a time as this, right? I'm gonna use some biblical talk as we're talking, but yeah, the S&P 500 dropped this week 2%, which is a pretty big drop for the S&P in a week, right? It got scared. We saw home sales pending from last month. We got that report 9.3% negative. That's a huge deal. That's a big deal. But we'll see if next month it continues to downside or goes up as we get into the spring selling season. In fact, my wife's got a house on the market right now here because she does real estate. That was part of our bigger plan when we owned $2 million worth of real estate. I sold it. My wife was the agent. We had a whole thing going, and right now she's selling somebody else's house. So shout out to my wife. She's awesome. So if you're in SoCal and need a real estate agent, let me know. But yeah, there's a currency war that I was just talking about. And one of the ways the war could happen was through Trump and his tweets. His tweets talk about tariffs. And people don't like tariffs and people like tariffs. It all depends where you're at. I like America making more money personally. So I'm okay with tariffs, but not everyone else is. So I get that. And the EU, European Union, didn't like the 10% tariff trade that was going to possibly happen this week. Now, they figured it all out, which is why he probably threw it out there in the first place, and because of that, there's a currency war. So the currency war is continually going on. Today, more tweets. It was about Canada. He's all pissed off at Canada. They might do a deal with China, and I don't want Canada doing a deal with China. They should be doing deals with America only, or they should get slapped around. Sorry if you're any Canadians on there, but that's how I feel. You know what I mean? Beautiful country, even if you're frozen half the year, but I still think that they're safe because of America, and the only deals they should be doing is with America. So I get it, and so we might slap 100% tariffs on them, and they'll get back in line because Canada has no power. I don't care what they say. They have a smaller GDP than California, so we're not worried about them. But the point is, those tweets drop. Currency wars are happening, and it makes people nervous. It makes countries nervous. And my biggest concern, what I've seen the last 16 years or so, is we get one party and then the next party as leaders. So we go Democrat, Republican, Democrat, Republican, and they just kind of wipe out the past president's stuff that they've been doing. And it's kind of sad. Some things are actually good on both sides that they do. And we can't be wiping out good things. We should only be wiping out things maybe that aren't futuristic and fitting. And that's where China plays a strong part. They got 100 years. They've been getting minerals from Africa most recently. They've been ahead of the game because they're thinking long term while we're fighting with ourselves. And a house divided will not stand. So I hope that our house cleans up, gets in order, and we start dominating and kicking everyone's butt in the world personally.
So I think a lot of people are scared during these times, and a lot of people possibly sitting on the sidelines. But what's the silent cost of doing nothing, you think?
Oh, I think the silent cost is everything. Because if you look at the K-shaped economy, it's painful. The top of the country is doing really well. They're making a lot of money. They're doing so well that even in California, they're trying to do a wealth tax to billionaires, charging them 5% tax if it gets passed. And what do the billionaires do? They're moving out of the state. You lose a place like even Wells Fargo just moved to Florida. In-N-Out's moving a headquarters to Tennessee. Like, that's wild. In-N-Out is California. They have literally 2 palm trees that are crossed at every single In-N-Out. You know what I mean? So, like, that's their logo. It is California. So it's all interesting. So that's something that's happening that's real, you know?
And once you see the risk clearly, kind of control becomes the next question, right? So if banks can debank a president, who's really in control?
Yeah, that goes through this week. If you haven't watched the news or my channel this week, you saw that Trump and the Trump team is suing JP Morgan Chase. Specifically, we got Jamie Dimon who's in control of that. They're suing for $5 billion. That's a lot of money because they're claiming that they were debanked for political reasons, right? They didn't like their politics or the way they're doing. They definitely don't like that they're switching everything to crypto, but they're getting in line slowly but surely. And I say crypto, I'm hoping just Bitcoin only, but we'll see what happens. But I think that's a huge warning to all of us that are here. Like, that's scary. We're used to, a democratic country where, there's less control and more freedom. That's what America stands for, right? Freedom. But when they start debanking you and controlling you for whatever reason they want, that's a warning sign, right? So if they could freeze the accounts of a former president, because he was a former president at the time, they can freeze your accounts without even blinking. Your $1 million, your $10 million, or your $100. I don't know what you own, but you don't want them doing that. The solution to me, again, is only Bitcoin. Bitcoin has no CEO. They can't ban you, right? It's the only money that's permissionless. They don't care what color you are, what culture you are. They don't care what religion you are. There's no control, because I don't think that should happen with your money. They shouldn't be able to print something and really just wipe out your savings as a melting ice cube. And they shouldn't be able to tell you could have control or be biased because they don't like your viewpoints or who you are. I respect both parties, red or blue. It doesn't matter to me. I have strong feelings either way, but I respect everyone's opinion because they're people. People matter, and that's what should matter first, is people and doing the right thing. And if they did debank him like that, I think that's wrong.
Yeah, I think when people finally understand control, something interesting happens, right? So is boredom the biggest buy signal?
Yeah, I think boredom's always the biggest buy signal when it comes to Bitcoin. The timeline's quiet, right? And retail gets bored and people start complaining about Bitcoin's not doing anything. I'm on with Zuber tomorrow at 9:00. Well, we're going to record. He's going to post it whenever he wants. But I heard him this week even, what's Bitcoin doing? So I'm excited to talk to him about that as gold and silver kind of, go to the moon, and that's okay. Like I said, they're doing a sell American trade. But as far as Bitcoin goes in the 4-year cycle, the halving, it's never dropped below the first time, like when it halved. So we're talking about our lowest point should be 70,000 again for Bitcoin ever. Hopefully. Now, obviously, if there's more sell pressure than buyers, then it could drop. But I believe there's going to be more adoption. We see what's going on with strategy. And right now, during this boredom period, they're trying to flush out. They flush out people with leverage. They flush out the tourists. They flush out those that are, what's this Bitcoin thing, right? Oh, it's not doing anything. Let me get out of here and throw it into whatever they throw it in, Meta or Amazon or these companies they have more comfort for, Netflix, right? And then they drop and they're like, oh no, what did I do? Because things change. There's a time when I sold my houses a couple years ago, and if I sold them today and I just waited, I would actually get less money than I did then. It's not because the houses are worthless. It just sometimes there's better times to sell, better times to buy. And I think boredom right now is opportunity. And historically, honestly, buying when the market is boring at high levels, like during this consolidation, the spring and coil, is usually the most profitable. But I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know when. I just believe long term, it's going to bring in more buyers and people are going to be very happy.
All right, so let's see what's going on in the chat. But in the meantime, let's see which question hit you the hardest today. So is Bitcoin being dead, ETFs, fiat risk, control, or boredom? Put it in the chat. But I saw some questions here. So
Okay, sweet.
there was one. Softball question from Hyder. It says, "What makes BTC digitally scarce? How can something be digital and scarce?"
Well, that's because there's only going to be 21 million coins that are ever mined. So that's a supply and demand issue. And there's going to be a supply shock as more people accumulate those coins, even the ones that are mined. And really, there's not going to be 21 million coins to the public. About 5 million of those are either Satoshi's coins or just lost in general. They lost their keys, they lost their coins. And we're talking about a 15 million coin max that's going to be there. Now, obviously, the more expensive they get, they're going to be not priced in full coins anymore. They're going to be priced at what's called sats, and that's like fractional buys of coins. So even though you bought a fraction of something, it's still important. I see over here in Balboa Beach, Newport Beach, they have these beautiful homes, and now they're like kind of fractionally selling them. So you can like own 8 weeks a year, but it's crazy. But you got to put your $3 million just for 8 weeks. So it's kind of wild. But that's what happens when something becomes so scarce. There's only so much land on Balboa Island, right? So those properties are worth more if you want to be right on the water in a beautiful neighborhood, safe, great schools, great people. So that's the same thing with even a digital asset like Bitcoin. Now, some of the other coins like XRP and stuff that I call trash is because there's owners that control the coins, and there's just an infinite supply. They just could produce more, just like kind of American dollars. They just produce more fiat.
Hyder says he watched a Luke Grauman video yesterday and got a much different perspective on China. Okay. If you have that video, Hyder, put it in the chat. Harrison does say, Trade Better 99 says, would electricity trump Bitcoin in the short term due to folks not being able to trade Bitcoin if they cannot have access to the rising cost in energy?
Well, when it comes to electricity, one thing you're seeing is a lot of the Bitcoin miners are like using their energy and they're helping out these AI companies now, and they're all kind of working together. That's the future, right? Technology, electricity, energy, data centers, and I think Bitcoin. I think they're all working together in order to mine Bitcoins, supply Bitcoins, transfer Bitcoins. And if you don't really know that, a better internet is on the way, and it's likely going to go on what's called Solana. Everything is already like stocks are being tokenized, the internet's going to be tokenized, and it's faster, it's cleaner, and there's no settling of transferring of money. It's just there's going to be less just slower. It's just slower dial up or anything else that's happening these days. I don't know. I have Spectrum. They're pissing me off every month, I feel like. I don't know what you guys have out there in the coconut wireless land, but what do you guys have? What do you use?
We got fiber optics out here, man.
Oh, nice, man. When I was this is your island, but I was on the road to Hana, I had like no reception. I was like, man, this is why Starlink's so important. So you could be in these places that are beautiful and lovely, and you could get Starlink and get it everywhere you're at. If you saw Iran, they brought those drone Starlinks so the city could have internet, because they were trying to shut off the internet for the city because they didn't want to see what's going on with all the massacres of people. They've been killing protesters there. So Starlink's awesome. I'm a big Tesla fan in general.
Hyder does say Bitcoin thrives off the most inexpensive and difficult to convert energy, actually using what is wasted rather than using what has the most demand. That was a really bad narrative that got spread. Okay. Let's see. What are your thoughts on Monero XMR breaking over 800 and cannot be traded on Coinbase? Cannot be traded on Coinbase.
I don't know anything about that, to be honest with you.
Okay.
Monero, I don't know. Not sure. I don't want to give an answer. I don't know.
Yeah, this is just
I only answer things I know, so I'm sorry I don't have an answer for that. I don't know anything about that. So I really I stick to Bitcoin. I like Solana if I was going to pick something else, but and then I do regular financial news, history, and stuff.
Looks like Hyder did put the link for that video possibly in the chat. So if you want to go check that out, like I said, here is Nick's YouTube channel. He's probably streaming live right there now. Go check it out. Subscribe. He also puts out daily content as much as possible. Stay on the lookout for his video. He's trying to get back into a routine with Zuber, so they'll be recording tomorrow, and that video will be out at some point. I do want to, I mean, if you have some time, I did want to. So,
Sure.
like I said, also go check out Nick on X. But there was a couple posts that I did want to bring up to him. So I don't know if I'm saying this individual's name correctly, but he's a big Bitcoin person on X.
Sure.
Raja Sony, I
Oh,
believe.
yeah.
I follow him also, but he says unpopular opinion: owning real estate properties is just an underpaid second job. And you reshared that post, right? So what kind of made you want to reshare that one?
Well, yeah, Rajat has a lot of followers. He does like a coaching thing as well. He has his own YouTube channel, I believe, but I I like wanted to just get people's opinions on those things. As someone who's owned real estate, I always wonder what people that have never owned it think and people that do own it. And I think that there's a lot of like clickbait from especially Bitcoin maximalists. He's a Bitcoin only guy. Like that's all he lives for. No real estate, no W-2, nothing. Like he's going full Kiyosaki on Bitcoin, right? But I think there are maybe some aspects to it. One thing I learned about real estate is there is nuance to a lot of things when it comes to real estate. If you're property managing it yourself, there's a lot to learn to do it right. If somebody else is running it for you, then you still got to kind of manage that person. At least that's one thing I've seen through Zuber and others. I proper manage myself. I didn't find it very hard, to be honest with you. Like once you get the deal and it's going, it's pretty damn easy. If they call you, you send a text to your handyman and they take care of it. So you don't really panic because you have your capex expenses, you know what I mean, already on the side. So I don't know if I agree with that. I guess, I mean, in Bitcoin, you could just hodl and do nothing, I guess. I don't know. I mean, I sell covered calls. Could be a job as well. I mean, I made a good amount of money this week alone, but I don't know. I think everything takes a little bit of work, but a lot of the work is front end when you do anything. You got to learn how to do it all, you know, and the more you learn, the more you understand, and the more confident you are and comfortable. I guarantee you, whoever watched Zuber or Marc or anybody on his channel, they were interested in learning more about whatever it is. And you came to the conclusion that it's either A, this is easy, I could do it. I actually find small multifamilies easy and I could do it. But I watched some of the other stuff and I was like, I really don't want to do short-term rentals and I don't want to do maybe mobile home parks or anything else. And that's the beauty of it. There's so many different types of real estate they could own, commercial, storage, and all those things. So it all depends what you're doing, what kind of team you have. But once it's in place, like any single business that's running smoothly with great leadership, it goes well. I mean, I coached 20 years, a couple pro players, 3 WNBA players actually. And once I had practice down, it was just kind of refining a couple things. But I could run a team right now and win championships because I've done it a long time. Now, obviously, you need good players to help, you know, some athleticism. I can't take Marc on the court and be good, you know what I mean?
Oh,
But
come on now.
hey, that was for that picture you got to be that we were joking with the text for a while. But yeah, you get my point. Yeah.
Yeah. I do want to remind go check out Zuber's recent video with Ryan Pineda and Brian Davila. It's uh Zuber is very composed on that video. It was kind of tough to watch. He did a great job, but it was a lot of, I think that's where a lot of people are feeling with real estate right now. And Zuber stood his ground and talked about, you know, the discipline on why there's wealth building in real estate, but any asset class, like exactly like Hyder's saying, investing is incredibly personal. There's no one asset that fits everyone. And so, yeah, check out Zuber's video with Ryan Pineda and even Dion's video talking about a clip that he took from The Uneducated Economist. It was a very interesting video. Hey, I see Joel here. What's up, man? I'll see you on Wednesday. Like I said, everyone check out Coach Nick's Lead Pray Huddle YouTube channel. Go subscribe there. Go check him out on X. He's putting out daily content. And one last thing, then your other post, though, you reshared something. So
Sure.
it was talking about Alex Hormozy.
Okay.
Said this person said, my real takeaway from this interview with Hormozy is that Hormozy appears to have missed the most important parts of life: having children, passion for your work, and personal happiness, right?
Yeah, I love Alex Hormozi. I think he's a genius. You know what I mean? I think when he does anything, it's going to be successful because he has absolute wisdom in whatever he does. He learns with the finest people. But I think he's at a point, if you watch the video, where he's kind of conquered the lion and he's like, well, what is there left? Well, the Bible tells you what it is to gain the whole world if you lose your soul in the process. Your soul doesn't mean you're going to hell like that. They're talking about like if you're just caught up in wealth and power and things like that. Well, those get old after a while. I think. I mean, I listen to his videos often, and he's like, yeah, you get tired of these steakhouses in Vegas. He lives in Vegas, but it's all the same stuff. It's a ribeye, it's mashed potatoes a la carte, like it's all the same things. And I think that there's something missing in that. And you're going to have all this wealth and not be able to, who are you going to pass it down to? I think there's a loneliness in there, and he's tried to be safe. If you know his whole story, and, you're going to find that out. So I think he's missing part of his life. Now, I understand some people don't want kids, things like that. But it wasn't about kids. It was about God and Jesus. I think that's the most important thing. You don't have to want to have kids. You want to be a solo traveler with your wife, or that's fine. But I think when you're missing a relationship about serving people, that's more important than making money. I think you're going to have times of loneliness. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's a big part. You see Ben Mala and Graham Stephan this week. It was a great man. He was roasting Jack.
Yeah.
I was like, damn, Jack. But if you're like Italian or whatever, and you're roasting someone like that, that just means you like them,
All right, this is completely off. So I was watching that interview. I was doing something else while listening to it. But so what happened when he was like, Jack, what's up with you? Because what did he do with the water bottle? Or he grabbed the cap with his
Oh yeah,
feet or
yeah.
toe or something?
Like, yeah, I don't know if he dropped the cap on the floor, so he went to pick it up with his feet. And yeah, they were not really. Ben was really just attacking him, like, "What are you here for? You're a smart guy." Like the whole time, Graham's the show. You're just on the side. It's kind of harsh, honestly, but it was just that's how he shows affection. But the number one thing is like, I think it was a year or two ago. He was all about getting all this money, and his whole demeanor changed on the whole thing. And he's like, "Nah, I'm done. I just want to consolidate. I'm trying to do a 1031 to the right properties so I can have generational wealth for everyone. Put my money in these treasury bonds." And get 5%, and 5% of 10 million is this, and you can't live on that. And he's trying to sell his own property, which is like has a lazy river in it and
Yeah.
everything else. So he's a funny guy. I don't know. I like Ben Mala. I like Graham and the Iced Coffee Hour. That's a great show too. But
Yeah, definitely entertaining. So those are some videos people should go check out: the Ben Mala, Graham Stephan, Michael Zuber, Ryan Pineda, and Brian Davila, and then even the Dion's live stream recap. He took a clip from the Uneducated Economist. So, but also go check out Nick's YouTube channel, Lead Prehado, and look out for his video with Zuber coming up. But remember, Bitcoin doesn't die quietly, it loads quietly, right? It doesn't reward urgency, it rewards patience, discipline, and conviction. Lead with purpose, pray with intention, and hodl with discipline, right? So we'll see everyone next week. Thanks, Coach.
thanks for watching. Yes.